Something odd I've just noticed. I've invited a friend who, he and I have attended the same high school together in Inverness, Scotland. He's moved down to England now, so we're both representing the UK. And today, we're wearing Captain America t-shirts. Meanwhile, our friends at America are not wearing Captain America t-shirts. How ironic. How the tables have turned. The UK people are representing America, where the Americans are not.
You see,
how do you...
that just means
well, let's say one thing that makes me American.
Well, that means that me and Brooke have done our job.
Captain America throws his mighty shield.
We've
All
been
those opposed his shield must yield. So unless you're playing or bomb or some ice or very much buddy or Spider-Man, you don't necessarily have to yield.
Reference appreciated.
Should have ended reference. But yeah, we've just done our jobs as Americans. We've infected you, and now you worship us. That's how it works.
Like parasites.
True.
Like you are with Disney, Neil. Like you are with Disney, Neil.
Yeah, a little bit.
Nothing wrong with being a Disney show.
No. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Disney+Pals, or as people are jokingly saying in the comments, the Marvel recap show, because that's basically what it is now. I'm joined by the cast for our Winter Soldier reviews. We have lost Sharon Mel, but we have gained a Jack from JACKOFFALLTRADES, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And Squid, we have two warriors, one with long hair. None of us can fly.
Speak for yourself.
We got half of it. Oh, okay. So we have a long-haired warrior who can fly. Thanks, Jack. You're following all of the cliches of this show.
Well, nobody has the Infinity Gauntlet except me. I have it all in my mind.
I don't need it. I'm good.
You got Thanos' weed farm.
And Mel's got that. I got dusted. Remember, I'm dead. Well, also I'm back, and now I have to pay rent.
Oh.
But honestly, one thing.
In this episode.
Here's one thing before we start. Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet in the comics are way more OP than they're on the movies.
Yeah. Because otherwise, it'd be very hard for these characters to vet him. You need to enforce a bit of a limit.
Yeah.
If this was animated, then maybe we could actually have it.
It doesn't need to be animated. This show, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I feel really fits as live action because of how real it is.
I know that fits, but I'm just talking about the Infinity War story. Like the whole MCU could have been animated.
That would have been something. Although we are getting lots of Marvel, but that's a discussion for another time.
With everything on Disney Plus now, you've got plenty of animated Marvel stuff that you can check out. I think we're covered on that.
But they don't have Spectacular Spider-Man they have Wolverine and X-Men, but they don't have Spectacular Spider-Man.
That's okay though. We have Avengers are Mightiest Heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that. But here's the thing. One thing, Spectacular Spider-Man is the definitive Spider-Man, okay?
I mean, I fully agree with you. Yeah. But we're here to review Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay, I was just doing some stuff before we start, okay?
It's always good to start with a tangent. You know, that bodes well.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And now, bringing back a joke I used from the Alcoholics podcast. Yeah, let's talk about Captain Falcon.
Which not happened in the first episode, which I felt like should have been the whole point of the show, that Falcon has to learn to be Captain America, right? But nope, he's just lending it to someone else.
Learn to be Captain Falcon. We're Smash Brothers.
I personally think that
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jack.
I agree that it should be the point of the show, and I think it will be. So we need a character arc for that. If he's just fully confident in being Captain America off day one, that's a fair bit of a jump from where he was at Endgame. Because as they point out, first thing he said to Cap when he picked up the shield was, "This feels like someone else's." So we need to build to the point where he feels that it's
But I
his.
feel like he shouldn't just give up the shield on the first episode, right?
I honestly think, Squid, that it's interesting that he gave up the shield, because now there's going to be like an arc where like we've seen in the trailers, there's a shot where he throws the shield at a tree. So my question is, how the hell does he get that back?
I know, but that's why it kind of would make sense if he didn't give it up, right?
I think it's cooler this way. I think now there's a
I know,
mystery.
but I'm just saying that now he's gonna have to face against some Captain America wannabe. Is that gonna be interesting or no?
Well, that character, actually, fun fact, I learned from this episode that this is actually an adaptation of the comics where Falcon becomes Captain America.
I knew that, we knew that, but what about the guy who's...
Well, that's actually what I'm leading to. These villains are from that comic. That guy who is Captain America is named, I believe, John Walker.
Yes.
And he is U.S. agent in the comics. He is kind of an anti-hero, kind of a villainous character. I don't know, but I think it will be cool to see Falcon get that shield back. I'm really curious what's going on with the Flag Smashers. And honestly, I gotta be real, I like how real this episode was. Like,
but here's the thing. I like that too. But here's the thing. I thought that at first when they're gonna announce Captain America, I thought it was gonna be Zemo. That would actually be more interesting if Zemo was, you know, I know that would make sense, but maybe they find out how that would make sense, you know.
I think we got to see where the show goes, Brooks.
Yeah. Because
maybe you'll be looking back and be like, yes, this story works so well because they did have Bucky and Falcon team up, get that shield back, and we can see how Sam went from being the Falcon to being Captain America.
Or Falcon, the Captain America. But here's the thing. When the first Doppelganger Captain America came up, and everyone was like, oh no, like Sam was like, oh no. I just thought that it was Zemo because this oh no moment felt like it was gonna be someone big, someone, you know, someone wrong person take up the mantle, like someone who's so villainous that it's wrong for him.
I also kind of like that it's someone we don't know. Like let's say it was Zemo, then we'd be like, oh, it's a bad guy. Okay, they're gonna fight and he's gonna get the shield back. But no, we don't know John Walker. We don't know if he's a good man or a bad guy. He could be a hero too. We don't know. We'll just have to see.
But you just explained that in the comics he's an anti-hero-ish or he's a villain, so we technically know.
Yeah, usually he's like good or bad. He has bad stuff to him, but they've changed stuff like this before, and also, like, you know, even in the comics, he still does good things.
Yeah.
If he's
Punisher's
good,
an anti-hero, and Punisher still does good things.
I have a question. If he's good, then it'd be less of a fight or less of, you know, less of a struggle to get the shield back.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he teams up with Falcon and Bucky. We just gotta see it, dude.
I know.
And we've had plenty of hero versus hero fights. I mean, Ant-Man versus Falcon, the entirety of Civil War. We can do that. That's
honestly,
I'm sorry. I'm not unfamiliar with the comics. I'm unfamiliar with the character because I read.
Oh, it's okay.
I have not read
it's interesting. It's interesting to see these concerns. Like, I find it like it could have been interesting if it was Zemo becoming the new Captain America. But like, I think I like John Walker doing it better just because now we have a story ahead of us. We have no idea who this guy is, what makes him worthy of being Captain America, because you have to assume he did something, right? He had to do something to earn that title. So what did this guy do? Did he save a bunch of soldiers? What happened? I'm curious. Why is John Walker the next Captain America?
I don't know.
That's the story.
We'll have to wait and see.
Well,
maybe
also, sorry.
Go on.
Wait. Who goes? Me or you?
I'll go.
Rock, paper, scissors,
you go.
Okay, I'll go. But I have one thing. You know, I remember watching Baron Zemo in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes show, and he always had those white eyes, and he's in the comics, but in the show, he's gonna have like the same mask, but he's not gonna have the white eyes. And we've seen in Marvel that it can work with Deadpool. Remember that those white eyes can work. But also, where's his sword? Also, isn't he supposed to?
Brooks, you're gonna have to wait and watch the show. What if he does get the white eyes? What if he gets the sword?
I know. That's why I'm asking if they're gonna do that.
I have no idea.
We haven't even seen
watch the
Zemo
show.
this episode yet, so I think we can hold sort of complaints on Zemo till we actually get him.
I'm not
Because
making
even in the
complaints, I'm
credits at the
asking
end of the
questions,
episode, they just
okay?
hold on an image of his mask.
Yeah,
And no credit appears. They just wait because we'll get him later.
I do think he's probably behind what's going on with the Flag Smashers. But let's jump into the episode proper. I got to do a quick recap for those at home, and then we will go through and talk about stuff we liked. So at the beginning of this episode, we get an action scene where Sam fights against Batroc the Leaper, who was in Winter Soldier and now is back in this series. And in the comics, he's kind of a fan favorite Captain America villain at this point, so I'm glad that he keeps popping up. Anyways, after that, Sam gives the shield over to the Smithsonian, and War Machine, who makes a cameo,
Rhodey
asks him directly, why didn't you take the mantle? He doesn't think he's worthy. Fast forward to Winter Soldier, who is in therapy. He's trying to get through his guilt by hanging out with this older guy whose son he killed.
Actually, that was a woman. Oh, wait. Oh, I thought you were talking about the therapist.
Well, no, he's in therapy. I just mentioned he was in therapy. He's talking to this older guy whose son he killed. It's really hard for him. He's trying to go on dates and get back into the real world. But unfortunately, he just can't do that yet. Too much guilt in that Winterhead. Winterhead. That sounds like another supervillain.
Actually, at first, I thought that, maybe that old guy had something to do with his... Before I found out, I thought it had something to do with his war days. Someone he knew in the war.
I was wondering if he was going to be one of the Howling Commandos, yeah.
I had my fingers crossed because they're... this man is Asian, and there is an Asian Howling Commando. So I was like, oh, maybe this is like his descendant? But I don't know. Maybe I'm just a racist.
I think that this guy was Chinese, or was he Chinese? I really don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just racist.
And didn't there already had a Howling Commando remember that principal in Spider-Man Homecoming? Didn't his descendant, wasn't he the son of a Howling Commando?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are other Howling Commandos too, so it could have been like, oh, either this guy was or he was a descendant. But to finish the recap, Sam is trying to figure out normal life as a superhero and life after the blip. So he's trying to get alone.
One thing.
Hold on, let me finish the damn recap.
Sorry.
He's trying to get a loan at a bank. They're not gonna let him do it. And meanwhile, Torres, who is actually Falcon's kind of sidekick in the comics, it finds out about a group known as the Flag Smashers that attack him. And at the very end, it is revealed that there is a new Captain America, and the shield is being passed down to someone named John Walker. We don't know anything about him, and the episode ends.
But I have two things. One, I have a little bit of a pet peeve about the blip. I really wish they just could have called it a snap. I feel like that should have been what it's called, because everyone knows what happens, because they had a literal, in Spider-Man Far From Home, they had a magazine where they had the Infinity Gauntlet, and they knew what happened. But also, number two, what if this show introduced Wolverine as a Howling Commando? Because he totally was in the
I mean, I think it's too late for that because they've already done the Howling Commandos, but that would be
But they
neat.
went on a lot of missions, right?
I mean, yeah, but we've seen the full team of the Howling Commandos. I mean, it would have to be a retcon, but I guess they could do it.
Yeah, they could do it. And retcons aren't always bad, as long as they're promising. And it makes sense.
Like Wanda stopping the bomb.
Yeah.
But what did we think about this episode, and did we have favorite parts? Let's start with you, Callum. You're being a little quiet.
I think I'm going to be quiet for the majority of this video. I think all you three boys are going to have a lot to say compared to me throughout this entire series. I'm the casual viewer, and everyone else here has read the comic. But anyway, that aside, we have just come out watching WandaVision, which was refreshing and definitely a really intriguing start. We needed to kickstart Phase 4, even if the ending was a little bit anticlimactic. But hey ho, you can watch the previous videos for that. So as for this, it's not quite a mystery. So unfortunately, it's not as engaging as WandaVision was. But there are many things going for it. For example, Falcon had an amazing action scene. We didn't get to see him too much in action, but we did here, and it was glorious. And also, we get a lot of personal time with Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, and his recovery from the war. I think one of the great advantages of television series, which I've said time and time again, and I'll keep preaching here, is that it grants more time for character development and more time to develop the story. So I really think Phase 4 is going to be powered by anything. I think television shows would be a great way to go from here, because we've reached a point where we've gotten to know these characters, but now seeing them at a more personal level would be just the cherry on top, the right kind of cherry on top. So I did like that conversation he had with the therapist. The therapist seems to have had a bit of war experience herself, so she called him out for blatant lies that he told, like harming people or having sweet dreams. He said, no, utter crap. And I have also recovered from war. No soldier goes back from war trauma to normal life just like that. Nobody. So great to have him there and have some friends to talk to. It was really sweet of the old man to kind of force him, but understandably so, to get him to date his daughter.
It wasn't his daughter, Callum.
It was his son.
It was an unrelated woman.
It was just a random one. Well, we're all racist. We're all racist. Except for Jack.
All of us! Can't you love us? They're so racist!
We are very racist, Jack, except for you. You are the only non-racist.
And guys, I'm sorry if I've been interrupting.
You're fine.
It's fine. Cal, I actually agree with you on the therapist. I want sassy war therapists to join my Jimmy Woo fan show. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it was really cool how the older dude set Bucky up on this date, and he seemed to do okay with it. I really thought it was going to be more awkward, because he's never been on a date since the past. But he got along with her. They both seem nice. I would actually like to see that character again, maybe.
I get a feeling we will. I think we'll have some recurring characters from each of their lives sort of throughout the show.
Mm-hmm. I also love that we're focusing on real life superheroes. There's a scene where Falcon tries to get alone and he can't. We see Bucky go to therapy. It's cool to see these heroes that have always been in these larger than life projects. Sort of taken down to the ground level of, I need to pay rent. I need to pay my bills, and I can't.
Well, that's what Spider-Man is the best at.
Well, I think Spider-Man plays a role there too, but I think here with Falcon, it makes a lot of sense as well. I think all superheroes, none of them get paid. So
and that's what marketing is for, because there's always hero agencies and you get paid a lot of money.
Cha-ching!
There's a good line on that that Lankara uses a lot, and it's a generalization. Marvel, DC fans, please don't start fighting. But it's DC are the people you aspire to be, while Marvel are the ones you relate to. But DC are these
Aha.
gods, greatest detective,
And
Amazonian
gods,
warriors.
humans trying to be
Whereas,
gods.
yeah, Marvel is more the people you can understand. By and large. No. Doesn't cover
But
everything.
here's the thing. I love that, but which one is the most powerful imagination? Marvel or DC?
Depends
I
who's
don't-
writing it.
Yeah, I agree. Check. That's the answer right there. But I think that with this project specifically, and what I noticed they were also doing with WandaVision, which leads me to hope this is what they're going to do with all the shows, is they are doing character studies. They are deep diving into these characters and asking the big questions, like, how did Wanda deal with her grief? What happened after the blip? What's going on with
Snap.
Falcon?
Really want to call
The
it
snap. Okay, Squid, I think you might be a little confused. The snap is when Thanos snapped his fingers. The blip is when Hulk brought everybody back. They're two
I
different
know, but
things.
they don't. They don't. They kind of. I am confused. But
That's
they
what
never
it's
call it
called,
the snap.
though.
They never have once said the snap before. So they always call it the blip.
Another problem with that, though, is there's 3 different snaps. There's Thanos's, then there's Hulk's, and then there's Tony's. So calling it the snap, which one are you referring to? So having a different name for each. I remember back in between Infinity War and Endgame, Marvel were really pushing the Decimation as the name of it, and no one was buying that. So I think the blip is quite good, especially how they introduced it in
Okay,
Homecoming.
fine. I'm over that. But I feel like that maybe when they do talk about the snap, they should say Thanos' snap.
I mean, I think having the separate terms is kind of a way of doing that. Like they instead of saying the snap in that scene with Sam's sister, she just goes, "He didn't exist for 5 years," which I think is more direct than saying Thanos snapped him.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying as the event period, not when when it happens to people. I'm just saying that maybe to call the entire, if they ever did like a timeline for Marvel, it should have the whole, it should just have Thanos' snap, and then at the end of that, Thanos' the blip.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's just less confusing to have these different terms, but I guess I understand where you're coming from. Honestly, though, I feel like in this episode and WandaVision, like I feel like the shows are really doing the heavy work of showing how the snap or the decimation affected everybody. Like Sam literally looks to Rhodey and says, "Oh, well, before what happened, my sister's kids were just babies. Now they're little men." And it's incredible to like hear these little things of like, I was gone, I'm back now, life is different.
Yeah.
And I really love seeing
And
those
one
things.
thing, a little bit mixing into the real world, it's kind of like how everyone felt with COVID. We went through our own snap with COVID.
That's true.
It's kind of like, the Endgame, Infinity War predicted it in the world that we had to endure in 2020.
Well, I do
We
believe
even had Cord.
Well, Kevin Feige did mention that there are clear parallels to what is happening in the real world and what is happening to Marvel. And he said, and I quote, "We are going to make those parallels because they are there. It may not have been intentional at first, but they're there, and we're telling the story we're telling."
But he did it before it even happened. I think that makes it more genius.
The man predicted disaster. But yeah, so Jack, did you have anything specific you liked about this episode?
Quite a
Or
few
any
things.
thoughts
Sam took some wee notes throughout as I watched it the first time through. I really liked, again, just the general world building of this. I love that, as you pointed out, when Sam tries to get the loan, it's like, yeah, but you've got no record of employment for the past 5 years. And banks have like changed how they run things, specifically because all these people just show up. It's like in Far From Home, when the teacher is saying to Peter, it's like, yeah, my wife pretended to be blipped and ran off with another man.
Whoa!
It's all these
Yeah,
little
wow.
things that tie together, and then we have. I like that they acknowledge Flag Smasher as being a stupid name, but I like the setup of it, that it's almost like an ARG, where people sort of like, oh yeah, on message boards, we all go to this location and do this thing, being told via your phones. I really like that angle to it, a little more than the whole bit Torres was talking about with the exposition of, oh yeah, they believed that it was better during the 5 years, they believed this was better, and they want us all to be the one nation or whatever, versus people doing it for fun as a game. I'd like if they go down that angle, but I think we're going to stick with them being a radical group, probably
here's
being
the thing.
manipulated by Zemo.
And I think you're onto something here, Jack, because I noticed, like with Torres, he was following this group, meaning he was essentially doing the Appen stuff. But all he ended up doing, like, he didn't have any information. He just knew to go to a place. I
And then
wonder
your phone
if
told you to run, so everyone ran.
I wonder if that is part of it. Like, there's obviously some people in charge. There are obviously, like, the lead Flag Smashers, probably the guy who jumped out of the building, and that girl we've seen in the trailers.
Memphis Ness from Star Wars.
But I have one thing to say. I wonder if they're gonna
Hold on.
introduce.
I gotta finish my thought, buddy.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
But I do really think that a lot of those people had no idea why they were there. And I think they were fall guys. Like, I think what happened with Torres, where he got grabbed by a guard, I think that was the plan. We get a bunch of civilians together, they run around.
Everyone's wearing a mask, so the person who did the crime can just fade away. He hands off the bags to other people to get away with it. He can just blend in with the crowd.
Oh yeah, it was an amazing scene. I really loved it. Yes, Squid?
But I have one thing. I wonder if the Thunderbolt Rosses will be introduced in the show.
You mean the Thunderbolts?
The Thunderbolts, yes. I'm sorry. Thunderbolts. You know.
I think they're setting that up. Like, here's the thing. Thunderbolt Ross is supposed to be in this show, right?
Yeah, and I can't wait to see him as Red Hulk. They have to do that.
I mean, I would love to see him become Red Hulk. I think we gotta wait for the Hulk show for that to happen, though.
Yeah. I feel like they'll set up some. We might get one other member of the Thunderbolts introduced in this show, but you have to bear in mind it's 6 episodes. We're not gonna do that story.
Right?
Mm. Yeah, in the She-Hulk show.
But okay, is it my turn to talk about my favorite parts of the show?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys did point out some good parts of the show, but after I watched it, I didn't know if I was still in the MCU or not. I just felt like it ended after Endgame, and is there still room left? Is there still stuff to be done? Or is it all just pointless? I don't know. But just talking about it makes me feel better what can happen. This what we're doing right now just makes me feel better. And maybe there's still some possibility, to be done.
Mm. Yeah, I fully agree. I think WandaVision, if nothing else, was proof that, like, all of these characters have stories. Like, for every character who got their own movie, there was a character who didn't. And now Marvel is like, okay, let's go through. Let's take these characters and let's show you how good they are. Because I got to be real, before this show, before this episode, I did not care much about Bucky. I didn't. I didn't have much of an opinion on him. I didn't care much for the character. But then watching the show and going through the whole dilemma of he's spending time with this old man because he killed his son and he feels guilty. He's trying to make amends and he's trying not to hurt people, but he's struggling. And the fact that he's dealing with this loneliness, I ended up loving him by the end of this episode. I was so into Sebastian Stan's performance. I went into the show excited to see Falcon, but I think I'm going to leave it loving Bucky.
Okay, I have 2 things to say. Sorry. I thought you're done, right?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay, I have 2 things to say. Is that probably Bucky has done similar things. I haven't read the comics, but I bet after he was done after the brainwashing, he has probably done something like this in the comics. I'm betting, because after he's done getting the Hydra brainwashing out of him, he's probably in the comics it was just like this. But also the second thing. But I'm glad that WandaVision, showed more of Wanda and Vision, not just Wanda, but Vision, and also when in the first and second episode showed him more personality, more stuff, and then more their relationship between Wanda and Vision, So that's all I got.
Oh, you were just giving thoughts about WandaVision.
And about what you're saying.
Well, I think that, even if it was in the comics, the MCU is separate from the comics. So I really liked seeing it in this world that I love so much. Because, we haven't gotten a lot of time with Bucky, which is actually weird because Bucky has been very important. Like, he's the reason Civil War happened. He's the main villain in Winter Soldier. And he was chilling in Wakanda when the whole war started in Infinity War. Bucky's been a very key character, and yet he hasn't had a lot of time to breathe. We now have time to breathe. I was blown away by the little things of making the world more real. Like Jack was saying, my heart was pouring out with all of the Bucky stuff. I even liked Taurus.
Yeah.
He was just kind of derpy, and I loved it. Like, him and Sam had a little friendship, and in the comics, weird stuff happens with Taurus that I don't think we'll ever see in the MCU. He literally gets experimented on and becomes a half human, half Falcon. But comic books are weird, dude. Literally.
Well, that's why I love them.
We can say he might still get experimented on, because, the guy who jumps from the building and kicks him and sends him flying seems to be enhanced in some way.
I think it's going to be a drug or something, because if you'll notice during the credits, there's this shape. It's a blue shape, but it kind of looks like a pill or like an eye drop or something. I think that might be how people are getting their powers, and it would really be interesting if there was a drug cartel in the Marvel universe that can give people powers.
Wait, so you're
Season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So wait, you're saying it's the opposite, like in My Academia, there was this drug cartel that could take powers away from people with a drug.
Spoilers.
So you're saying it's the... It's not exactly spoilers, because it's not saying how it's made. But...
It's spoilers to say it exists!
Or are I spoiling? I'm sorry, I'm just sorry.
Go on.
But you're saying it's the opposite this round, that there's a drug that can give people powers.
We've seen this thing before. This is actually kind of a common trope. I believe there's a whole show about this very idea that has Jamie Foxx in it. With pills that give you superpowers. So at this point, I think maybe it could be something else. There are people saying, "Oh, they're just mutants." I don't think they're mutants, though. I think it's still a little too early for them. If we didn't get them in WandaVision, I think it's false to hope that we're going to get them in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I think there's a pill or something happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're saying about Torres being almost a sidekick to Falcon, I literally wrote in my note, Red Wing is his sidekick and Torres is the sidekick. It's just...
He's
Red Wing's got some upgrades as well. He's a lot more capable in this. We've got fire lasers, and he's got a minigun and missiles. We're back. Okay.
We are back. We had to edit something out. And then we had to edit out talking about editing that out. Don't edit this out, Callum, though. Let it lie.
I want to ask, what did you guys think of the conspiracy theory that Captain America is on the moon?
Well, I think it's a very interesting conspiracy theory.
I think it's real.
He's on the moon.
I think it's real.
When he's at the exposition cafe when
I got an idea. I got an idea. Maybe
he says "Oh, people are wondering. Can you let me know where's Cap right now? People are saying that he's on the moon, looking down over us all."
Maybe that's a clue. That's a clue. Maybe he's with Sword. Maybe he's with Nick Fury, and maybe with with the scrolls on that ship.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. I think Cap is up there with Nick Fury in the sword ship.
That's why I said it's an interesting conspiracy theory.
I think even if Cap isn't up there necessarily, because who knows what's happening with Chris Evans' contract at this point, it's at least going to be in reference to Nick, because we have that bit at the end of WandaVision where it's like, oh, he wants to talk to you. Who? Just points up. It's like on the moon, you know, up there.
It would be neat if they're actually like building a base on the moon or something, because there is precedent for stuff like that in the comics. But yeah, I think it's possible, dude. Callum, you're a casual viewer. You only watch the movies. Would it be weird for you if Cap is on the moon?
I mean, people, the Marvel has clearly established that, yeah, technology kind of exists in all kinds of planets. I mean, they have technology to mine the skull of this ancient cosmic giant, so why not build a base on the moon? But on the other hand, why is Captain America on the moon? I thought he was dancing happy with Agent Carter. And
that
then,
was 80 years ago, remember?
Yeah, he
80
came
years
back.
ago in a parallel timeline, and
then
According to the Russo brothers, who have changed their stance, he time traveled in this timeline. So everything that's happening in the
that doesn't
MCU
make
is
sense
very
that would time travel in a parallel time. Then he wouldn't be there in that timeline.
it brings up a lot of issues that we could spend a whole other podcast talking about, because where's Loki in that
according to
case?
the
There's two dead
Russos,
bodies.
None of those issues matter.
let's not make this into Kingdom Hearts. Let's just move on before this gets confusing.
Well, something I did want to ask you, Callum, because you brought up, like, you don't know the comics, but I think that that's interesting, because, like, that means a lot of this stuff is brand new for you. Well, meanwhile, like, I knew who Taurus was. I knew some of the stuff that was going to happen with Winter Soldier and Falcon. I knew he was going to become Captain America. I even kind of knew Rhodey was going to show up.
Well,
but
I
I'm
don't know what
curious.
Taurus is, but I have watched a lot of cartoons and that tie into the comics. I have read Infinity Gauntlet and Secret Invasion.
But I am curious, Callum, how did you feel about the stuff with him paying the bills and how they talked about, like, superheroes don't get paid? How did you feel about how real the show became? Because, like, for me, it made these characters more relatable than ever. So I'm curious how you felt.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think this is a great step, and I think doing the televised approach will definitely help with the character aspect. And now that we're mentioning making these heroes relatable in their mundane lives after their heroic works, it's making me recall The Incredibles, or even to a greater extent, DreamWorks' Megamind. What I liked about these superhero movies is that, gosh, they did it way before the Marvel Cinematic Universe did, or maybe they got inspiration from the comics, who knows? But either way, it was a genius idea, which makes these films rather timeless, is that we see these heroes, how do they fit into a mundane life, and how are they going to fit in? And they're trying, they're struggling, and like most of those movies, it's just them trying to fit into their mundane lives and they happen to have superpowers. With The Incredibles, it's raising a family whilst trying to hide their superpowers to try to be normal. Like a good chunk of the movie is them trying to do that, even when Mr. Incredible is at his job with, going to and fro from the island. He's still taking time with his family. We get a whole montage of them spending the time together. In Megamind, me and Brooks have been talking about it, actually. There's a whole talk about destiny and sort of an existential crisis on the villain's part. Like, yes, I've defeated my rival. Now what? And a good chunk of the movie is spent about doing that and just reconsidering, did you really want to be the hero or the villain this whole time? So now we bring that and we bring it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How do you recover after such a traumatic experience, and how do you get back in? Yes.
But here's, but go cross over to Japan and look at a world like My Hero Academia, where the whole 80% of the world is filled with superpowers, and when the main character in that show doesn't even have one, and it's left out by everyone, and kind of felt alone and kind of miserable, and can still smile, but just all hides it on the inside, and it does make it relatable, even though in that world, like, most of the superheroes can be superficial and can be like, and get paid money, and it's easy for them. It's still hard on our main hero.
I think that taps into a little bit of what Jack was saying when he brought up that these characters in the MCU are not gods. They are humans. They are,
or excluded.
Yeah, they are people that are trying to live up and be heroes, and there's a struggle to that. And now, because these movies can take their time, we finally see that struggle. We see, oh yeah, no, Stark wasn't paying people. It was all free. All of it. And while they did very good things, and people are helping them out because of it, it's still literally, you saved the world, and I appreciate that. You can't pay your bills. You can't. Sorry.
Well, further on the being paid heroes side of things, when Stark was around, they were all at the Avengers compound before Thanos came and basically nuked that. People were living there. Wanda was living there. Vision was living there. Sam was at least a guard there. So Tony was supplying you with your food, your home, everything you needed. Like he says in Civil War, it's like, oh, there's a massive pool. There's all this stuff. You didn't need to be paid if you've got all this stuff. But now that they don't have, I'm sure Tony left them some money, or there'll be some grant or something. But that's the point here, is Sam's sister, whose name I've forgotten, specifically says, no, I don't want you to help me financially. We're doing this for the family business my way.
I think the closest we have seen to a superhero living on their own was before the Avengers commune was made. And it was Cap. He had his own apartment, which was provided by S.H.I.E.L.D. So even then, like, he wasn't paying his own bills. He was probably given modest amounts of money, but at that point, he was just straight up a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. So
yeah, he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. He was on their payroll.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was paid. But also, like, it is neat to think about that, like, you know, Tony sort of provided for everybody. Now that he's gone, things have changed, and he can't really do that. And plus, the Avengers seem to be, for the most part, disbanded.
But here's the thing. I have a question. Who owns Stark Industries? Pepper obviously does. Then why can't she provide for them? Huh?
I'm sure she does.
Well, I'm sure there's, like, an aspect of that happening. Like, for example, you know, Sam still has his house, and he doesn't have a job.
He's helping out the Air Force. The whole opening fight scene.
Oh, yeah. So, like, I think
he is employed. It's just his sister didn't want his help. She didn't want his money. That was sort of the point there.
Well, also, like, the guy looked at him, like, the guy at the bank was like, oh, you're not employed. You haven't been employed for 5 years. So I think maybe that's, like, you know, the army stuff is volunteer work.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, he was a previous soldier, so it's possible he got paid for that job and his sister didn't want it. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. She did seem like a proud woman. But I really just like the idea, like, that maybe Pepper can't take care of them as well. Because if you remember, like, last we saw Pepper, she's living in a farmhouse. We don't really know the state of Iron Man's money. I assume they still have it.
Wait, did they sell Stark Industries? Maybe they sold it, and that's how the Fantastic Four comes in.
It's possible they did. But one of the things I want to bring up, and I'd feel reminiscent if I didn't bring it up during the review here, is that War Machine. This might be one of the most comic book things to ever happen in the MCU. War Machine shows up. He has a conversation with Sam where they talk about his nephews. They briefly talk about Captain America. Then he leaves. And he's gone. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that Rhodey is a real character in this universe. He just popped up. We don't see the War Machine armor. We don't see an action scene with friggin' Don Cheadle. We just see, hi, I'm here. I'm talking to my friend who I work with. I'm asking him questions, and then I leave. I'm not a main character in the show.
Not that we'd be complaining if we did get a Don
But he
Cheadle
has to
action
be a
scene,
cameo
but-
in the future, right?
I would love it if he's in another episode, but honestly, I'm being real. I don't even want to see the armor.
He doesn't
I
have
just
to be
like
armor,
the idea.
no armor, just at least him being a cameo.
That
I just
was
want to
actually...
see Rhodey being a friend to Falcon. But you were
Yeah.
saying, Jack?
But
What
here's
was running through my head, as we were saying when they're talking about, oh, we need a new symbol, we need a new patriot for America and everything. My brain immediately went, are we going to get Norman Osborn's Iron Patriot here?
oh yeah.
I'm glad we didn't. I much prefer the angle we're going. But my brain just went, please, 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 please,
But
please.
here's the thing. Let's go back to Rhodey. In the first Iron Man movie before Don Cheadle, Rhodey was a friend to Tony. He was, supporting Tony, and also even Iron Man 2 for the half of it, he was supporting until they got in the fight, and then he took the armor and just became War Machine.
Yeah, I'm not saying that War Machine as a character is not supportive. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying I'm glad that he showed up and he did have a scene where, like, true to that character, he supported another hero. Because I got to be real, there is a show coming out later that's going to be about War Machine. We're going to get armor. And
then can we have the Thunderbolts, please, or Iron Patriots?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of Iron Man villains in that show.
Wait, didn't we
But I
already
like
have
that-
the Iron Patriot in Iron Man 3?
Yes.
We
But-
kind of did,
will they bring that back
but
again?
that means the armor exists for Norman Osborn to maybe steal. But
Or at minimum, that
Yeah,
it was
we-
just a paint job, because...
Or
Oh no, wait,
maybe he
actually,
gets
because
such
it
a-
is in, the Patriot armor is in Endgame as well. Because that's
Oh,
the point, he's wearing
yeah.
the War Machine one, gets crushed, can't use it, so then gets out of
I thought
that
was
suit.
completely different.
And then
armor.
in the final fight, he's wearing, yes, the different armor he's wearing. It's in name only, it's painted the red, white, and blue, but it's...
It's hard to see because of the lighting of in-game, but if you look at, like, promotional art and stuff, that's the Iron Patriot suit.
Again, in name
And-
only, I don't know exactly how Patriot works
Well,
in the
what's
comics.
interesting, Jack, is because Marvel never does anything by accident. They brought back that armor for a reason. I think they might be setting it up for down the line.
We'll see.
But
Like, I'm very much of the Splash Thompson, doing the Norman Osborn stuff with him, having him be Venom, Green Goblin, doing all that stuff with Thompson. 'Cause Spider-Man stuff, different top.
Yeah, I think we're mostly done here, so let's go into final thoughts, and then we shall give our ratings. Cal, let's start with you. You've been very quiet, and you're never quiet. You're usually so loud and boisterous.
Obnoxious. You were gonna
What's
say
some
something?
stuff you loved about this episode, if there was anything?
That action scene with Falcon was really amazing. Him gliding to and fro, and gotta give props to the people in the other glider suits. They must have spent like a long time training for that. I know that there's CGI involved as well, but seriously, it takes a lot of nerve to even get in that suit. I don't know if you know me, but I am petrified of heights. I am fine with climbing a mountain. When I reach the top, petrified. Yeah, props to these people for doing the gliding. And also, yes, as we've mentioned time and time again, this episode certainly helps us to relate to the people on the more personal basis, which with the format of a television show will certainly help make for more expanded character and for a fascinating story, depending on where this goes. Not quite grabbing me as WandaVision, but the character analysis aspect, I think this is the best way. I think, actually, this could be the crux that could sustain Phase 4. I mean, even if the story turns out to be not that good, I think a character analysis would really help Phase 4. There we go. We figured it out, everybody. The key to sustaining Phase 4 of Marvel going forward, character phases. There we go.
So Callum, let me get this straight. Let me see if I figured out what you just figured out. You're saying that the key to Marvel's success, a franchise that has advertised itself and mostly coasted off the fact that it has amazing characters, is to do things with those amazing characters?
Develop them further. I know that sounds stupid. Like, yeah, a series of amazing characters.
I'm teasing you. I'm absolutely
You're right.
teasing you. I get what you're saying.
Especially now with, Tony and Cap and presumably Thor starting to take a step back. We can now amp up the characters we've had for a while, focus on them a bit more, build up their fans,
Forever ago, I mentioned that I did a video about Marvel fatigue, and I mentioned that like when Hawkeye shows up, nobody had any idea who he was because it was like, oh, here's the bow and arrow guy. He makes a quick cameo and then he leaves. And it would have been cool if we had like a show or something we could go watch right after we saw Thor, which was here's who this character is. And I think that's what they're doing here. Like, it feels like everything that's happening in these shows is going to be important to the MCU, but it also feels like they're side things, like off screen, Falcon could have became Captain America. We didn't have to see the story where he earns the title. It could have just happened off screen, but they're showing it sort of has like DLC, like you wanted to know the story, here it is. And I love that.
But I have one thing. For the Hawkeye show that's going to come out, maybe, hopefully, they'll try to design his new costume in the way of the comics.
I mean, I can't argue with you there. I very much would like to see
They
the
have
original
done, like,
Hawkeye.
Captain America in a cool way. They've done Iron Man in a cool way. They've done a lot of superheroes in a cool way. So why can't we do that?
I mean, it is a little silly, but I think one way they could do it is they could show his life at the circus, because before he was an Avenger, he was a carny at the circus, and his costume actually derives from his circus performer suit. So they could just show a flashback to the circus and he has the classic suit on, or alternatively, because with Falcon in this, that costume he's wearing is much more comic book accurate. I'd love it if he does get a comic book accurate costume. I would love that. Squid, do you have anything about this episode that was a favorite for you?
Well, I used to give it 3 stars on my Stardust reaction, but now that I've really talked about it, I guess I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Just give it 4 stars, okay? I'm just it's off to start, and there's some guys pointing out some interesting stuff that I couldn't see because I was just too busy melancholy. But I'm glad I now see that. So now I give it 4 stars.
All right. Promise.
All right. But do you have any final thoughts about stuff you liked about the episode, or do you just want to end on your rating? Because we actually rate 1 to 10 during the Marvel stuff.
I think that I'm just gonna give it on my rating.
Okay. So what do you rate it out of 10 then?
I gotta give it like probably 7 out of 10.
All right, that's a fine rating. Jack, did you have any final thoughts or things you wanted to say before giving your rating?
A couple little notes that I haven't had a chance to mention yet.
Oh, of course.
Just funny little things, which were...
Oh, please.
I really liked Sam's sister. It's like, oh, just the phrase. I googled it because I'm like, this has to be like a reference to something, but it wasn't. It's like, oh, when you were off fighting Dr. Space Cape. Well, that sounds like a joke character. Is that anything? It wasn't, but no, I really liked, again, like you said earlier, Batroc being back, and I'm not as familiar with him as a Captain America villain. I know him more from the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, where he's fighting Spider-Man and just jumping around in the purple and yellow spandex. But
that's basically what he's doing in Captain America too, which I like. That the very subtle storytelling they keep doing with Batrock, where every time somebody fights him, he just kicks a lot more than he punches. I love that.
So he's like Deku in that way.
A little bit.
That was great. I've never heard of battleships for a first date. But when she brought that out, I'm like, okay, we'll see where this goes. But turning battleships into a drinking game, I'm on board with that for a first date.
Hey!
I had a dark thought when she brought out the battleship. I was like, wait a minute, Bucky fought in a war. Is this going to give him PTSD? Is he going to be like, the battleships? Oh, the battleships.
I like in that scene as well that she points out, it's like, oh, so what's up with the gloves? Because he's got a robotic arm, so it'd be weird if you're just wearing one, so he's wearing 2 gloves to hide that fact. And I wonder when she's going to find out, because she's going to find out.
Probably when she's feeling her, she's gonna think, "Whoa, you're so chunky, I could faint. It's almost as if you're made of a statue." Yeah.
She's going to
What
have
about
to
when she actually
figure it
finds
out
out? Will she
eventually.
freak out?
Probably. I mean, if you found out that your girlfriend had a robot arm, wouldn't
I
you be a little
That'd
weirded out?
be awesome.
Don't even worry. I'd be like, yo, dope. But also, I'd be like, yo, you could probably crush my hand while we're holding hands.
But here's the thing. There's a lot of kids. I've seen a lot of commercials where actually kids who have lost their arm are given robotic arms. And also, I even saw one time where Robert Downey Jr. gave a robotic arm to a kid, and that looked like the Iron Man arm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We're
robotic
making leaps in
prosthetics
that
are real.
direction.
We're getting closer and closer.
But just to leave it off there, sort of at the end of the episode, I really like John Walker, was it you said? This new Captain America. I really liked his suit. I like the sort of star and the A being combined to one logo. I really like that. I like the stripes across the chest if you move the star. Not a big fan of the American flag being slapped on his shoulders.
I
Nothing
did not
against the American
notice
flag.
that.
I just think it's a little out of place.
Because
But-
it's
I
supposed
really like
to be
his
the
design.
false Captain America, right?
I found it interesting that his costume didn't have a lot of white to it.
Mhm.
Like, that's a reference to the comics. Also, before you give ratings, Jack, because I actually thought of something else I want to bring up before we finish our thoughts. Jack also brought up that Zemo wasn't in this episode, but someone else who wasn't in this episode is
Carter.
Agent Carter. So I'm curious, how do you guys think they'll come into the show? Do you think that it is Zemo behind these like new metahumans, or does he have
You
his own
mean
plan?
mutants, right? That's DC.
Well, it's all one term, but the
I know.
enhanced individuals. Do we
I
have
was
any
just going to bring up
theories?
that about Sharon Carter or Agent Sharon? Yeah, Sharon Carter.
Her
not
name
being
is Sharon, yes.
Yeah. Because in the credits, again, when they're going through and they show Falcon, the actor, and Winter Soldier, and the actor, and they do all that. They show each of the characters in like an artistic way. They show Agent 13, and they just don't credit her because she wasn't in this episode. And they show Zemo's mask, and don't credit him because he wasn't in this episode. But they've got it all laid out in the credits for them to appear down the line.
Yeah, I noticed Don Cheadle was over one of them, and I was like, boy, Don Cheadle looks a lot like Agent 13. Damn. Looking nice, Don.
And I did want to point out, it was bugging me. I saw when John Walker, this new Cap, sort of comes down the stairs and you see him. I'm like, I recognize that face. Where do I know that face from? Where do I know that face from? So how do we peek at IMDb? Have you guys watched much Black Mirror?
No.
I watched a little.
Okay. He's Cooper from the playtest video game VR episode. And he was really good in that. I've not seen him in anything else. That's the only thing I know him from, but he was really good in it. So I'm hoping they do something interesting with this character, because it reminds me a bit of from the Daredevil Netflix show when you have Bullseye come in wearing the Daredevil outfit and everyone thinks it's him. I like when you have someone else wearing the iconic suit and you play around with messing with that a bit.
What I like is like, I don't know if this is just because we're so used to Chris Evans, but you look at that suit and it just noticeably looks wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just looks incorrect. And that's something I really like. I think that John Walker has the potential to be a very interesting character in the show. And I would actually like it if he's not just a straight up villain. I would love it if maybe he's taking the drug. That way he can have superpowers and be a good Captain America, but it's like messing with his mind or something. I think,
or even he's a good Captain America, but he's clearly working for the military. He's a government-sanctioned Captain America.
Yeah, he's Captain America if he was for the Sokovia Accords.
That was the point I wanted to make. I watched Winter Soldier and Civil War this past week.
Whatever happened to that?
Yeah, Falcon pointing out, like we were saying, how do superheroes get paid? Falcon didn't even sign the Accords, so he shouldn't be getting paid anything from the government at all. So it would just be whatever Stark's left him. But Rhodey, again, it's Colonel James Rhodes. He is in the service of the U.S. military. So you've got the different levels of it, and I think they just sort of dropped the Sokovia Accords, because it's like, oh yeah, Scott Lang served his time under house arrest, but I mean, Black Widow's dead, and Captain America's an old man, but Falcon was on the run with them, and he's just seemingly given a few
I think, actually. It's actually maybe since all the chaos that happened, maybe some laws got erased, you know?
Mm. Well,
but that could be a thing as well, like we said, with Thunderbolt Ross coming back later. You might bear a bit of a grudge about that.
I agree. I think it's an in-between of both of your thoughts. I think because of all the chaos that happened, the Sokovia Accords have not been a priority, so they've been kind of dropped to the wayside. However, I think now that, life's starting to start again, it's a couple months after Endgame, I think they're going to come back. I think there's actively going to be a scene where Falcon and Bucky are told, if you do this, you're violating the Sokovia Accords, you'll go to jail. And then they do it anyways.
I like that idea of having that scene, but I think... Okay, like that scene. If that scene's in it, that's great. But I think I'd like them to hold off on that until we bring in mutants. And then sort of do that all as a big single coverall thing. Because then you can get into things of, why people, aside from J. Jonah Jameson, love Spider-Man. He's the hero and everything, but they hate Wolverine. It's like, we can get into the people in the universe's views on the superheroes. I don't
think that we need the mutants to be hated again in the MCU when they already were hated in the Fox franchise. Maybe they could do it something differently.
You could, but the point is, it's an allegory for marginalized groups. I think removing that is a bit of a spit in the face.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm right with Jack.
What I hated most about that is when they finally got accepted, they went back to being treated like, again. It pissed me off.
Blame that on Fox. Doesn't count anymore. Different canon, different timeline.
Evan Peters is not Quicksilver, unfortunately.
But I have one thing to say. Since we are in a more accepting time we're accepting other races, and that could be that we could accept mutants.
That's what I think Jack is getting at here. That the Sokovia Accords are limiting people to powers so that maybe Thunderbolt Ross, because let's be real, that guy's going to be a villain one day. Thunderbolt Ross, he's going to use this to fearmonger, or we can get characters from the X-Men universe that are anti-mutant, and they can be like, with these people are heroes. These people, however, are dangerous, and they can really manipulate it. And honestly, I don't think the Flag Smashers are going to be mutants. But let's say they are. If the first appearance of mutants in the MCU is a negative one,
a terrorist organization,
criminals, then that's going to color the opinions of mutants in general to the public.
Hell, maybe they could be under Magneto.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if what they do is the first time we see a mutant, it's the Brotherhood. It's Magneto's team. And they do some sort of big crime that turns the public against mutants.
I really like that idea, but I want the Flag Smashers to be a separate thing. I don't want... Again, 6 episodes, guys. There's only 6 episodes for this show. We can't...
Wait, there's only 6 episodes? I didn't even know that.
Limited series, yeah.
But that's
6
okay,
episodes.
because as soon as this ends, I'm pretty sure Black Widow is going to come out, and then
Yeah.
Loki's in June.
Loki and What If, and it's all coming this year.
And what about
2020 was
the
slow, but
Eternals?
2021 is going to be jam-packed.
And Loki's only 6 episodes too, but trust me, Callum, you and I counted how many Marvel things are coming out this year. It was like 13. We're not gonna be missing Marvel.
All just in 1 year.
You can make another Marvel fatigue video at the end of the year. Yay!
So we could get the mutants by next year.
Potentially.
I don't want to say yes mutants. Honestly, I think we're building right now. I think we're building to the Fantastic Four. We're gonna have little references.
Yeah,
to
the
mutants.
Fantastic Four has to come first because they
And then
have not been
phase
doing good.
5 mutants.
I don't know. Maybe at this point they could all just be heroes for fun if they just keep it up at this rate.
That's
But
called being a vigilante, Callum.
But don't forget that meddling when you don't have to is the essence of being a hero.
well, let's go through and give our ratings now.
This one doesn't talk.
Callum, because Brooke's already done it. He's got 7. So Callum, what is your rating of this episode? Did you like it more than the WandaVision first episode? What did you think?
Remind me again what my rating was for the first 2 WandaVision. I gave the first 2 WandaVision episodes an 8, right?
Hold on, I wrote this down. You gave episode 2 an 8. I know that.
Yeah.
Jack, you give your thoughts while I find this.
I don't think I'm necessarily as warm to it as the rest of you. I like it. It's a good start. We'll see where it goes from here. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought some bits in the middle were a bit too slow. Specifically, the therapist scene was a good scene, but it was just shot really weird. There were a lot of high-angle close-ups for no clear reason. And yeah, it was... I have some problems with it, so I'm going to give it a solid 5 out of 10 for now.
Oh, nice.
Alright.
5 out of 10 for us is right in the middle. It's an
Yeah.
average show. I think that's a good rating for you. Cal, you gave WandaVision episode 1 an 8.
Okay. Can I give this episode a 6.5?
If you want to, yeah. Explain
I'll
why
give
it's
it that.
6.5. Well, explain why it's 6.5.
Okay, so this didn't make as big as an impression from me as WandaVision, and a lot of people do say that first impressions do count in television shows, but at the same time, you gotta give television shows a chance. I mean, this is only the first episode. I mean, the rest of the series could suck. The rest of the series could be awesome. It could be somewhere in the middle. There could be some episodes that are awesome and others that suck. There could be some that are mediocre, others that suck. There could be some that are mediocre and some that are awesome. We don't know. We'll have to watch it. So I'm going to work off with this premise for the time being. And this is a great premise. So far, we got to know the characters personally, which I love. We got a great action scene with Falcon. I like the slower scenes, but it's a sort of a general setup, a hero and villain and shenanigans, blah, 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 blah. So part of it is the average Marvel stuff, which I'm beginning to fear. But on the other hand, there is some Marvel experimentation, which I really love. So 6.5 for now, I think.
How about yourself, Neil?
Well, I think I rated this the highest because after I watched this episode at 3 in the morning, because that's how I do.
No wonder you guys are up so early.
I jumped straight into a call, and I was like, "Okay, I love this episode," and I was emotional during it. Like I was listening to my voice, and it was cracking, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this episode really hit me." And last night, I was like saying, I'm going to give this episode a 9. Like, I adored this episode. I thought it was great setup. It really, like, here's the thing. I was excited for the show, but I was kind of just like, okay. Falcon and Winter Soldier, cool. But I was so pumped after watching it. I watched it again today, and I sort of calmed down a little. I went in, I looked at it a lot more critically, and I do not want to give it a 9. However, my rating did not fall a lot. I'm giving it an 8.5.
Okay.
I think this show immediately struck an accord with me. I'm now very invested in these characters. It did its job. I want to see a story with Bucky. I want to see a story with Falcon. And I want to see what's going on with John Walker. What are these mysteries? Is Taurus going to become a half Falcon man? I have to know. But yeah, I loved this episode. I loved it a lot. And I think 8.5 is pretty good, which is higher than I gave the first episode of WandaVision. It isn't higher than the rate. Like, I gave one of the WandaVision episodes a 10 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
So it was the episode where they talk about her past, episode 8.
Fair.
So, like, obviously, I need it to take its time. I need to, like, really learn about the show. I might even change my rating. Like, I may think even more about it. But just first reactions, I loved it, and I want more.
Okay, good. So,
I think it's approximately a 27 out of 40.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, that seems like an okay rating. That's a little more than half. Yeah, I think a 27 out of 40 is pretty good. And
You can see in the recording what we all gave it.
It's a fine first episode. I think it's a great start. So thank you all for watching. Jax, Callum, Squid, you guys want to plug yourself and stuff you work on?
Well, I have Squidbear, my channel, and I currently at above 300 subscribers. And funny that my most viewed videos are Lego custom character videos, and I'm in the future. I'm gonna create my own story, but I'm not gonna tell any of you about it. It's just between me, Callum, and Jack.
Okay. I mean, Jack loves Legos, so he'd be great for that.
No, I'm talking about my story. Like, I'm actually gonna become an author.
Hi.
Okay, well, that's cool.
But we still love Lego. I mean, I've got like a whole bunch of Lego here.
Oh, I have a ton of them downstairs. Like, a lot.
I'm not going to turn my camera.
I was never a Lego boy. I was more of a plushie dude, but I love me some plushies.
With Lego.
Jack, you want to point out your stuff? Plug your things?
Yes. Again, this is the first video I've been on this channel, but if you guys found me at all interesting, you can find me at JACKOFFALLTRADES. I hope I'll be linked in the description down below, but my channel is almost at 1,000 subscribers. We're 20 away, so hopefully if you guys found my thoughts interesting here, check me out there. I mainly do a lot of anime-focused content. The Promised Neverland and Attack on Titan are both drawing to a close right now, so we're covering that quite a lot over there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to showing up some more over here.
Absolutely, man. Love having you here. Cal, plug your stuff. Everybody here knows who you are, but, you know, might as well tell them again.
My name is the Scotchmire, named after a certain race from Lord of the Rings, only Scottish. And currently on my channel, I've been playing some Sonic the Hedgehog games to celebrate his 30th anniversary, making a few videos reflecting on life, as well as making a few Team Fortress 2 videos where I get characters to read Dr. Seuss books in relation to how stupid politics has been as of late.
Oh, trust me, it's stupid around the entire world.
And we're not going to talk about that.
No?
Yeah, but long story short, I'm going to mock it and it deserves it.
But it's always interesting to make allegories on it.
Oh, yeah, of course, on Callum's channel, but not in the fun review-y show. And as usual, you can find me here on the Dr. Knealetapus channel. And also, if you feel so inclined, you can support me on Twitch. We just did, speaking of Marvel, we did the Avengers Hawkeye story pack that came out yesterday. That VOD is on Twitch, and I had a lot of fun with it because Hawkeye is my favorite superhero.
Nice.
More Marvel stuff. Well, I can't think of other Marvel stuff we're going to do on Twitch, but we are doing other nerdy stuff. We're going to be doing Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. We're going to be playing some of the Arkham games. And overall, we're just going to have a good time. So go over to twitch.tv/Dr. Knealetapus, please. And now we have to end on a joke.
Can I ask a question for us to end on?
Sure, ask a question.
Well, Neil just said his there, and that got me thinking. In the MCU, who's everyone's favorite superhero?
Oh, nice. That's a good thing to end on. Maybe we'll do that with Falcon and Winter Soldier. We'll end on a question. Mine is Hawkeye. I really relate to the character, especially in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I believe this character will finally get his time to shine in the show, but I still love him. Jeremy Renner is really playing him as the heart of the team. He's inspiring Scarlet Witch. He's got a family. I just think the character's so cool. Cal, do you have a favorite?
In the MCU.
In the MCU, it's hard to pick, so I just pick Korg because he's so funny.
Wait, that rock person?
Yeah, Korg, the one with the British New Zealand accent. He's friendly, and he's gonna go on a spaceship to get out of here. Wanna come?
I think that's a great pick. I love Korg.
Korg's great.
Squid, you got a favorite?
Fair.
Go ahead.
And I've always, well, technically, here's a story. When Iron Man first came out, I loved the animated version, which was him as a teenager, more than the live-action one. But when the Avengers came out, I started to love the live-action one first. I don't know, I was weird back then, but I really just love the Iron Man suit. I love the creativity of Iron Man. I just, of course, love his complicated life and his, having, to turn around his wrongdoings and also, to challenge his inner demons and also his complicated mind, which I can relate to. But I have one thing to say about Iron Man Armored Avengers. But did you guys hear what I said?
I did hear you.
Go ahead, Brooks.
Oh, he already said his thought. Just cut it after the I quit.
But also, can I say, leave in the video that the Manor is freaking awesome in that show?
Nice.
Iron Man Armored Avengers was an awesome show.
My favorite MCU superhero, I go with Scott Lang's Ant-Man.
Oh, nice.
I really like that. I cried 3 times the first time I saw Endgame. The portal scene, Tony's death. But way earlier, I cried at the start when Scott came back and found his daughter all grown up. I love the Ant-Man movies. Scott Lang is my favorite hero in the MCU. I'm so looking forward to Ant-Man 3.
But I have one question. What about
people
the comics?
don't pick Ant-Man. That's really cool.
Yeah, I know. If
What
I could
about
have
the
any of the
comics?
powers, I'd want the Ant-Man suit. I'm already really tall.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of fun.
But I have one question. What about the comics? Which in the comics is your favorite? Hank Pym or Scott Lang?
Oh, okay. Well, I've not read much Ant-Man, so I can't really say. I've seen more Hank Pym, so he'd probably win by default there. But the favorite comics superhero is Doctor Strange.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Because there's so much to do with it. I was ecstatic when it was announced that Benedict Cumberbatch was going to be playing him.
The only Hank Pym Ant-Man I've seen is in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
I can't wait for Doctor Strange to get more of a heart in these Marvel movies, and I think that's going to happen in the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And hopefully Andrew
Peter
Garfield and
shifts
and Tobey Maguire are going to be in that new Spider-Man movie.
Hopefully.
But we'll see Peter shift his affection and parental figure From Tony Stark, a man with an amazing facial hair, to Stephen Strange, a man with amazing and very similar facial hair.
Both
You know the kindred
geniuses in their own
spirits.
right.
Is that comic panel just Tony reaching out for a fist bump? Goatee brothers?
But Cal, go ahead and end it.
Oh, I just remembered to end this off. I should let you know that Falcon is not only the new Captain America, he's also the new Iron Man. You want to know why?
Go for it.
Why?
He was ironing his shirt at the first scene.
Leave it there.
I quit. I'm done. Get off of my channel, Cal.
I immediately thought of the opening of Star Wars Episode 8 there, when it's just, you think it's a ship coming down, it's just an iron. Nice.
I want to beat you
Go
up.
ahead. Yeah, join us next time for the adventures of Iron Falcon.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.